I could probably refresh the screen. So
Yeah. Um, Testing.
do
Duh, 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 duh. Okay, how about now?
yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah,
There we go. There we go. All right. All right. How's it
perfect.
going? Are you in San Francisco?
Oh no, I'm in Jamaica,
You're in
in
Jamaica. Okay.
Kingston. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Is App Genius or is that based out of SF or
It's not directly based out of SF. I registered the company in SF. Um, so I basically operate remotely. So I travel back and forth between the US. So I live in Jamaica, but I have been uh, working remotely for US companies for like a decade. So that's kind of like my operating framework.
okay, got it.
Yeah,
Got it. Okay.
yeah.
Cool. We'll get into all of that. I'll just preface just a little context for you. We are building a learning and social platform for AI builders called Vibin.
Okay.
And we've been talking to people in the space about how they got into building, what they're working on, and what they're learning along the way. Our
Yeah.
audience definitely skews more beginners. I know you have quite an extensive background in software development and engineering, but I think yeah, I think there's probably quite a few lessons you'll be able to share about your journey. I'm assuming.
Yeah, most definitely.
So we'd love to just first start with your background. Maybe tell us a bit about who you are, how you got into the space, and yeah, just what you're working on now.
Yeah, so my core background is, I've been writing code for like the past like 16 years. Um, I became like a lover of technology from like I was a kid because my dad and I, we used to like build computers, so we would buy the parts. That's like in the early 2000s,
Mhm.
buying the different parts, assembling computers. Like if people wanted Microsoft Office, we were the plug. If people had their, like their hard drive crashed at like 12, I would be like putting on Windows, XP, and all that stuff. So I kind of started out like just tinkering around with technology. Um, my dad and I would also build like satellite dishes from scratch for like DirecTV and Dish Network in Jamaica and like sell them to people. So I was doing that in my early teens, and then once it was like time for college, I was like, okay, I want to take this to the next level. Like, how are apps really made? And that's how I kind of got into computer science.
Cool, cool.
Yeah.
And how did you?
So, mhm.
Yeah. What? How did you? How did you make that transition? So yeah. So it's a computer science degree, and then did you immediately start working with Automatic right out of college, or was there a little bit of other jobs along the way?
Yeah. There were like three other US jobs before I got to Automatic. The big transition shift for me was realizing the power of open source. And
Mm,
to, everyone who will like listen to this call, open source is one of the most important things. I know that AI agents, coding agents are flooding open source with code right now, and there's certain libraries that are in like a maintenance hell, but it's still like a great way to put yourself out there. So I created some popular open source libraries. That's what
mm.
really opened up the door for me. In terms of having something reputable to put alongside my, local education. I didn't go to a
Yeah.
fancy US school, so I kind of had to do that as a hack to really get into the space to showcase that I had the prerequisite skills for roles. And I think it was around 22, 23, I landed my first major US role with a company in North Carolina. And then the rest was history. Like, once you have one good job on your resume, um, you have that US experience. So you can show that to another company and then another company, and
Yep.
that hierarchical build up keeps on going, and you're able to progress through your career.
Yeah, and I think you're absolutely right. I think that's just as building an open source is just as relevant today, maybe even more relevant today than it was,
Yeah.
because that's how you show your resume. I mean, that's how you show that you know how to build and you know how to work. It's not just I worked at company X doing this, but it's like, this is what I can actually do.
Yeah. Yeah,
Very.
so I went to Automatic, worked there for 5 years, an amazing 5 years. Was able to work on WordPress, so writing code deployed to 150 million websites. I worked on Tumblr, so I was managing an Android app with over like 100 million downloads. Worked on WooCommerce, bunch of different projects. The remote life was nice, fancy paid trips to Dubai, London, all across the globe, Cali, San Jose, all over. I was just traveling and everything. So it was a great 5 years, but then the AI wave happened. I was like, yeah, time to get out of here, time to be an entrepreneur. Like this, the gold rush is not gonna miss me.
Yeah, exactly. What did you learn? So I think one of the things that just AI builders in general struggle with is it's easy to build a prototype. It's easy to have a couple users, but what did you learn specifically at Automatic, at Tumblr, when you're saying, yeah, I'm deploying to 150 million users? What kind of lessons did you learn when you were deploying that at that kind of scale?
So like one of the most important lessons I learned is that really value even just a single user. Like I feel like people take for granted how difficult user acquisition is and how important it is to treat every single user experience as something to really care for. Empathize with the user, try to understand their pain points, try to optimize your app as best as possible. And the reason why I say this is at scale, reducing churn was always one of the most important things. Reducing churn, optimizing retention, and it's difficult. Like
Yeah.
it's a lot of work, a lot of experiments, a lot of trade-offs, and that really taught me to really spend a lot of time on like just product analytics, utilizing tools like Mixpanel and PostHog, really understanding your user journeys and optimizing your funnels, those kind of things. So I know that's not really like people don't really do that when they're just starting out, but I think AI has shifted things. AI builders now really, really need to zone in on product analytics because anyone can code an app now, but not anyone can actually distribute and retain users.
Yeah, really good advice. Yeah, it's funny. We were talking to Michael from Setup Claw yesterday. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He said the exact same thing. He said to link up PostHog and just be really, really just thoroughly analyze all of those product analytics you're getting.
Yeah, and that's what I had to do at scale, with product teams and like data scientists, data engineers, like going through a large amount of data and shifting from that mindset to a builder where I'm like starting from scratch. Of course, I've had to like downsize like some of the efforts based on just how I divide up my time, but I still feel that in the age of AI, you can utilize agentic workflows to replicate a lot of this behavior. So that's one of the fun things I've been doing, like coming up with like agentic workflows to replicate behaviors I've seen in teams and really understanding like what are the reasoning steps that a senior engineer or an architect or a product manager or a designer takes to get towards their goals. What are the inputs and outputs for that process? How can I measure and evaluate that quality to build structured, repeatable, deterministic workflows, even though we're utilizing, reasoning models?
Yeah, exactly. Can you? Okay, yeah. So can you just moving chronologically here? So after your stint at Automatic, you realized the AI gold rush was here. What was that kind of like? What was that light bulb moment? Was there anything that, because I'm sure going from being a software engineer for so long to seeing the capabilities of this software, was there anything that really struck you?
I won't lie, I feel like GPT-4, when GPT-4 launched, that's the first time I felt like I would call it like the AI fear. I was like, oh crap, this thing is really good. Is it going to take my job? You know, just seeing the capabilities of the models and really also seeing like the scaling laws playing out. That's one of the first things that struck me. But what really grabbed my attention and really allowed me to dedicate so much of my time to this was something really simple: speech to text. Talking to the models. I love communicating, I love sharing my thoughts. And for the first time, I was literally able to talk to my computer. But really, it's for me, it's not really about only just talking. Because I've worked remotely for so many years, I used to be in meetings, I used to have to do a lot of structured communication-based workflows because I was working with over 2,000 coworkers in almost 200 countries. So we were very extremely like process-driven, a lot of text-heavy communication, a lot of verification mechanisms for work, and that literally translates directly over to agents, you know? And I think a lot of people are underestimating the power of agentic workflows because everyone is trying to like sell a fancy agentic platform as a magic fix. And when people try to use them, it doesn't really work. But in my experience, I have been having really, really powerful breakthroughs with agents because I build manual workflows first that actually work in a human way, and then I decompose that into these just smaller steps and tasks. And just by doing that task decomposition, I'm able to break things down step by step and slowly automate to really ensure that the agentic experience, the reasoning model, and the outputs are coming out in the same way that I would do the task. And I'm able to create evaluation mechanisms for spotting failure modes, etc.
Yeah, and I think that's really good advice for anyone on the spectrum of being an AI builder, from a beginner to advanced. You don't need to be technical to understand the processes and break it down in a way that you understand. And then once it's broken down at a human level, exactly like you're saying, I think it's a relatively easy transition over to.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So can you tell me more about Joyful? I'm sure that
yeah.
That's part of that progress made it possible with Joyful.
Yeah.
But yeah, where did the idea stem from?
So Joyful is interestingly, it's a personal product that I utilize as my startup, as one of the core products of my startup. So App Genius is like my holding company for my ideas. So whatever ideas I embark on, whether it's consumer or enterprise, I put it under the holding company. One of my core bets is Joyful, and the reason why is I have been in therapy for like almost 8 years, and that experience just working with a psychologist and like improving just my own behavior, working through trauma, building my leadership skills, it really allowed me to like enhance my life. But one of the challenges I had was I would do a session, and these sessions are very expensive, so it's like once per month. And then she would like say, "Hey, Joel, here's your homework. Here are gratitude exercises, intention setting. Ways to celebrate your wins, ways to work through any negative experiences you may be having or doubts." And I would take these exercises, these PDF documents, and I would never fill them out. So once the AI wave came around, I was like, oh, I can literally use speech to text and like real time voice conversations to like do these exercises every day and improve my mental wellness, especially as an entrepreneur where it's sometimes a kind of a lonely journey, especially as you're trying to build everything. So I took all of those years of insights and turned it into a wellness journal that leverages the latest capabilities of AI to improve your mental well-being. So yeah, that's what Joyful is, and I use it every day. At the start of my day, I do like my intentions, and it's a real-time call utilizing OpenAI's GPT real-time model. And it just asks me, hey, what are your intentions for the day? How are you going to deal with blockers? How are you going to celebrate yourself? Just those really empathetic questions. And I think it's really grounding when you set your intentions. And you come to Twitter and there's just a flood of things happening. There are wars, there are
Yeah.
so many things. At least you have something that's grounding you personally to
Yes.
really embark on all of your goals and challenges.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. What was the hardest transition from going from enterprise to consumer? What was the biggest insight that that you picked up on in that transition?
So the biggest insight and the biggest thing that I've been learning that's been the most difficult for the past 2 years is distribution is hard. Like distribution is hard
Distribution.
and it's expensive. Like
Mm.
Twitter, I think one of the things that happened to me in like the first 3 to 6 months is I fell for the Twitter hype. There are these, I don't know what to call them, influencers that they're promoting like these consumer apps going to like 10K, 20K, 30K
Mhm.
per month in revenue, 100K. And they made it seem like so simple. When behind that was like people who were spending a large amount of money on ads,
Yep.
people who are hiring influencers for 1,000, 2, 3, $4,000 per month per influencer or per UGC creator. It's a lot of money that you have to like burn, and there is so much you have to understand to not only gain views but to convert those views to
That's,
actual users. So
yep.
people, there are just a lot of products and a lot of initiatives out there where people are selling you like this kind of get users quick, get to this high MRR really quickly. And that was the
Mhm.
biggest transition because for me, I had a cushy, had a cushy tech job where other large teams and established customer base would just funnel cash to the company. So I
Mhm.
had a secure salary and I didn't have to worry about anything. I could just like code and everything was fine. And it took a while for me to break out of that behavior because I would be like generating code and the product would be great and I'm just coding and AI just prints out code after code and then the MRR wasn't moving and I was like, oh
Mm.
crap, but I have a family to take care of, I have bills, like what's really going on here? And that's when I had to like take a step back and really double down on getting some key contracts and consultations to really
Mm.
cover my essentials, my bills while building. So I also learned that as well that as an entrepreneur, if you don't have like venture funding and like a long personal runway, like after I think I had like a 1 year runway, and after that ran out, I was like, okay, I'm gonna just get some contracts, some consultation work to just
Mhm.
cover that baseline. So that's been an interesting thing over like the past like 2 years since I've been a solopreneur. That's what they call
Yeah.
it. I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
Yeah. And then how about on the technical side, and the like product challenges you faced, especially making the AI? I imagine there's a bit of a challenge with making the AI feel like a supportive companion rather than a generic chatbot. How have you
Yeah.
navigated that?
So I think one of the good things I did last year was I took a eval course with a bunch of like AI leaders in the space, and one of the things that course taught me was all about error analysis. And one of the things I'm really good at because I spend so much time in the space is evaluating AI output. So really creating tools, customized tools and strategies to evaluate um, just multi-turn conversations and is the AI being empathetic enough? Is the AI being repetitive? And
Mhm.
learning how minor changes to like just the core prompt that guides the experience actually guides the output. So that
Mm.
experience has just been very boring and repetitive. It's just putting in the work and just putting in those strides, step by step. I feel like a lot of this work is very boring. And
Mm.
we have a For You page on Twitter that algorithm optimizes exactly what we want to see. So it's all exciting for our minds, but it's really just
Mhm.
those day-to-day steps that I've taken to put in the hours and put in the time to work with these models every single day. Just
Mhm.
learning what allows them to work best. If they're having challenges, I create skills. I pay for a $200 Claude Max plan as the core investment to manage my entire personal and professional life.
Sure.
Tracking finances, doing my journaling, writing my code, synchronizing my to-do list, generating invoices, like everything I try to move over to the model to kind of give me some breathing room for more important work.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And are you still doing philanthropic work with Global Shapers and that as well?
Yeah, so I'm now in the alumni, but I still contribute to that kind of work. And what I really do alongside that is in my country, I really do my best. Like this past weekend, I was a judge at like one of our largest AI hackathons in Jamaica that had
Cool.
over 700 participants, and judges flew in from San Francisco, Washington, all across the globe to actually be a part of that event. Um, and I'm also like I sit on like university committees here where I help to optimize the degree programs, like AI-based degree programs to match what is currently taking place in generative AI. So yeah, I really contribute to like the public and private sector in the country in terms of just shifting the conversation on AI, because there's a lot of fear mongering in the media,
Mhm.
based on the engagement farmers out there
Uh-huh.
that are kind of like putting that narrative out. So I really sit on certain boards and committees, really just helping to contribute to the narrative about the powerful capabilities of the tools for transformation, and to not be too fearful of its implications.
Yeah, I saw your tweet recently about AI taking software engineer jobs. What is your your longer response to that? How do you feel about that? It's just the future of that.
So I don't know if this happens to anybody else, but for me, every single time a new model comes out, my goals get bigger. So I end
Mm.
up in the same problem where the model hits a wall because now I can actually do more.
Mhm.
So, and I can actually solve more complex problems. And I think one of the things that people don't realize about these models is I really just call them reasoning engines these days, like in my mind. And there is so much that you have to think about when you're thinking about reasoning, the kind of reasoning steps, the gaps, what are the assumptions, what are the trade-offs, where are you getting your insights from, what's your ultimate goal. And you cannot really offload that to a model because the model is not really in the real world.
Mhm.
And these tools are really, they're not conscious, so they're separated from the lived experience. And that means they will always require an operator and someone who has a goal. So, of course, the nature of software engineering will change and will shift, but their core fundamentals, just really understanding the architecture of how to coordinate software engineering work, shifting from the existing software development lifecycle to a more agentic lifecycle, and understanding just that orchestration just based on core software engineering architectural patterns,
Mhm. Mhm.
and verification mechanisms like CI and integration tests and end-to-end tests, and coordinating all of those efforts will always exist because there is so much, like as vast as consciousness is, that's how vast software is, because
Mhm.
it's our ability to utilize these machines to represent problems and solutions that we come up with in our minds, and that's infinite. So
Mm.
software to me is infinite. So
Yeah.
how do you replace engineers when we orchestrate that, we are that bridge to the machine intelligence,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole taste and just the ideas, the
Yeah.
models are not gonna just come up with that out of thin air.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, I know we only have a couple more minutes. The last question we usually like to ask is for someone watching this who wants to start building with AI but feels intimidated, what would you tell them?
I think for anyone who is watching this to really start by taking your time to understand the model and get a feel of how you can solve really small problems that just really give you that that win, that initial there's this feeling you get when you realize the model has helped to solve just this cognitive load or a burden that you had of something you wanted to do and just take it step by step. And most importantly, be conversational. These tools are trained to be conversational assistants. And a lot of people, for example, I meet a lot of people who ask me how to do things with AI, and they'll say, "Hey, I don't know to do this particular thing," and I listen to them talk for like a minute or two, and then I was like, "That was your prompt," and they're like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, exactly what you said to me. You could have said to the model." So you can actually vent your problem to the model, and the model will understand. And that's one of the most important things. The quality of your prompts is somewhat tied to how vulnerable you want to be with sharing the true experience you want to have with working with the tools. And if you start there, you can easily start to spot gaps in your thinking and in your process, and then the model can help you. And that is just the most important thing, spotting those gaps, and also verification, learning how to verify work is extremely important. These tools work really, really well when you understand how to push back and ensure that the model is grounded in truth.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's super helpful for I think all levels.
Yeah,
Being interviewed.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Joel, so much for your time.
Yeah, Pat.
I know you're a busy
Yeah.
guy. Yeah, yeah. I appreciate you making the time, and yeah, let's definitely stay in touch. I
Yeah,
want to
most
hear.
definitely. Yeah, man.
Yeah,
We could definitely have another one in a couple of months when I
yeah,
have some new stuff. I'm really exploring distribution. So once when that starts to pick up steam, I'll have some new stories based on just taking things to the next level.
yeah. No, I mean,
Yeah.
I'd love to do a session with you with just how does Joel approach distribution. I think that would make for a great episode.
Yeah, most definitely.
Or even
Hey,
watching
man,
you
what's
build.
up?
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. I just joined near the end because I woke up. I woke up early and then I took a nap again and I fell asleep. So sorry.
Not sorry, great man.
And I wanted to meet you first time too. So I'm sure Pat is a great interviewer, by the way. So I wasn't worried. So
Yeah.
I'm sure you're in good hands. But yeah, hopefully everything went well. And we've been connected online for a bit. I think since
Yeah,
we
man.
started.
Yeah, 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 for a little while. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, maybe one day we'll go to Jamaica and hang out with you. But
Yeah, most
that's around.
definitely.
But yeah, hopefully the interview was well, and I think
Yeah.
you have a lot of insight clearly, and I watched in the end, and it's interesting to hear your take on. I guess you think software development is infinite, and maybe it makes sense. I think there's something there. So
Yeah.
yeah, the developer jobs will still be around because you think it's challenging to even you need an operator basically is what you're saying. Which
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are thinking that as well, but I'm more neutral, so I don't know.
I think there are multiple. I still think there will be a winner takes all kind of vibe, because that's how we have always operated through every transition. The industrial revolution. There's always these massive giants, and that does cause job displacements, and it will shift the markets. I'm not saying that that won't happen. I don't really like the permanent underclass mindset that's in the space. I see that kind of thought process. I think it's a lot of fear mongering. That doesn't really help to solve the problem. I do believe it'd be better if we had some form of humans in the loop put into law so that people can still have jobs, even if the models are really, 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 really good at doing everything. But yeah, who knows? The markets determine uh, the outcomes, So we'll have to just kind of grapple with that as a society and see where things go. So
Do you have 5 more minutes?
yeah, of course, of course, of course.
Okay. So like I have random questions for you. I don't know, Pat, do you have the layout thing? I think I pressed pin. I don't know if we can make us less
our doc.
Whatever layout you want to use, it doesn't make us all like the same columns. Sorry.
Oh, I see. In Riverside. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah,
Exactly. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no.
So I think Joel, like you do a lot of Android Compose work, right? Or you used to, right? And you were building out stuff with AI. Like kind of like I guess first question would be what is your workflow with that? Like yeah, like the first one you pressed, Pat, was really good. I think the other one. Oh no, not this one, sorry. Okay.
Wait, one sec. Here. This
Perfect. Yeah. Okay.
No.
This is perfect. This is perfect.
Right. Nice.
All right.
Yeah.
Sorry. So Joel, I guess like you do Android work. Like maybe generally walk us through what you do there and like your background. I guess at Automatic maybe. I don't know if Pat asked you about this. So
Yeah. But yeah, like a lot of my work over the past I would say 8 years primarily was around building like page builders and form builders. So I have deep experience in composing tools that allow you to build pages, like design systems. So there were two companies I worked at where I was building the engine schemas that build forms for automation. So basically, a drag and drop builder that really allows you to put text inputs and pictures and grids and signatures, all of that stuff on the screen, and it's able to be rendered via Android or iOS. Then when I went to Automatic is when I went into the real work, which was working on Gutenberg, which is one of the most powerful page builders on earth. So I really had to understand the Android ecosystem at a really, really deep layer to build out those native components that get connected to the React side of things. Because Gutenberg is like a large monorepo for page building experiences. So I had to understand React and React Native and then bridge that with the native parts of Android for all of those different blocks that render content, audio, pictures, every single thing. So a lot of my work is really a deep understanding of really breaking things down and composing core primitives that allow you to create these kind of easier experiences for the end user. So I kind of translated that now into the AI way for building my own agentic tooling, but in a very, very practical way, because I have spent so many years building actual production grade, workflows for just composing pages and posts and all that stuff.
Amazing. And I've seen you post things about your workflow with AI and Android development, and like I think you've posted some insightful and I guess novel ways of approaching AI development, and I think a lot of it is context based, right? Or you're giving AI the right context, or you know where it could go down the wrong path. Without giving away your secrets, what do you think are, I guess, best practices when working with AI on things like Android or areas where it might not be the best out of the bat, or maybe it is the best?
Well, I can give my biggest secret, because it's great to share. It's context engineering by putting every single thing in one repository. Every single thing, every tweet, every PDF, all articles, doing a lot of agentic searching to bring in insights. So building your own agentic search tools that are able to extract insights from GitHub, from wherever you want to get information from, and really pruning and managing a repository that always gives the agent information that it can leverage to help you solve your toughest challenges. So I spend a lot of time, pretty much, I would say 50% of my day, just managing context. Because once I do that, like the agent just does everything else. So that's been my biggest uh, win in terms of I spent so much time on open source because that's, as I was saying to Pat, that's how I got into the US space. Um, Coming from, just a non-traditional school, coming from the Caribbean, getting US jobs was not the easiest thing. Only a few of my friends and I were able to like break into the market. And it was by studying the code of like all of the top engineers in San Francisco on GitHub. I would spend like my whole weekends going through their code, and then I just copied the patterns. I just learned them and redid them in interviews, and they're like, "Holy crap, this guy is smart. He knows our standards." And they're like, "Okay, here's a nice job offer." And I was like, "Okay, I'll take the cash." I've now switched that to like tokens. Like I value every single token that I consume with models, and I think just high quality context engineering is where you win.
That's amazing. I'm gonna ask one more question. And I'll let Joel. Sorry, not Joel. Sorry, I'll let Pat ask the last question at the end. Sorry, my mind is like just waking up. I'm not an AI, I guess, or maybe I am. I'm just joking. But okay. So I'll ask one question and then I'll let Pat ask maybe one more or two more last questions, whatever he prefers. But Joel, if you were to start over today, let's say you were I don't know, 18 today or 16 today, and you were not a developer. But you were I don't know, maybe just as curious, or like you're you have that same drive maybe. um what would you do? Like let's say GPT-4 just launched. Like what would be your approach? And then if you could give yourself advice from afar, like you were like a little fairy, and you could like nudge yourself in different places, what would you do to nudge that individual? Or what like magical insight would you give that person so they can kind of propel themselves forward?
Yeah.
What would be your goal? Like what would if you could go any direction, like
Yeah.
it's a very open-ended question, so I'll leave it to that, and then I'll let Pat kind of continue.
Yeah.
So thank you.
I think the biggest thing I would say to any like 18-year-old or someone who's just starting out is to follow the information. I love Twitter because I think Twitter is the best platform on earth to really curate that information highway that you consume in your mind, really, really prune your timeline. Every single post you see influences your mind. The algorithm is very powerful in both negative and positive ways. If you actually prune your timeline, you will be able to spot trends, you will be able to spot opportunities, and you'll be able to do just in time learning. Like a lot of the things I know about AI is not because I'm taking like really fancy courses. I'm just seeing small snippets of tweets across just various folks in AI. And if something is actually sensible, my brain looks for a pattern. Once I see 3 to 4 or 5 AI leaders repeating it, then I'm like, okay, I need to try this. And Twitter is a really good place to like prune your feed. Like my feed is mostly AI, and I'm able to like learn at a faster rate. So I would say really be very mindful about like what you consume, but also be very mindful about producing as well. Don't just be a consumer. Write blog posts, write tweets, post on LinkedIn, go post on TikTok if you can. It We're living in an age where distribution and just having a personal brand and putting content out is going to just be very important. I think anyone, if you do those two things, then whatever problems or challenges you end up solving, whatever direction you end up taking, will just allow you to really embark on something great. The
Yeah.
right thing will eventually just pull you and kind of like call you out because you have that good balance that's just stimulating the mind, and your entire value system and goals will allow you to kind of act on that.
Absolutely. Wow. Yeah. Great way to end it. It's just,
Yeah.
your entire journey is just a testament to that. I love the
Yeah.
just-in-time learning. I mean, I love even
Yeah.
hearing the story of you just going and copying the frameworks, and then that's how you initially learned. And just, using that knowledge to just kind of keep jumping up each rung of the ladder.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. And I love too, Joel, how you're using those superpowers now to like give back to your community and to
Yeah.
help, like everything that you do with like young kids and young boys
Yeah.
and giving them those those superpowers and handing that.
Yeah,
handing
most
that over. It's
definitely.
really, yeah, really admirable. So
Yeah,
um
appreciate it.
yeah, thank you, Joel. Thank you for your time. And yeah,
Yeah,
let's
most
definitely
definitely.
I would love to yeah, have another session where we do some kind of even your agentic workflows. I mean, get into the weeds a little bit and kind of show us
Yeah.
how you've architected that, because that's really
Yeah.
intriguing as well.
Yeah, most definitely. Sounds good.
Amazing. All
Yeah.
right.
All right.
Perfect. Thanks again, Joel.
Yeah. All right. Cheers. Bye.
Have a great day.